Many people have problems with art and not with reality.
So why is art different?
It's pretty simple, right?
This is knowledge, this is thinking, this is thought.
Yeah, it does something strange with your head.
Welcome to the Undergang Armchair.
Bring it.
Welcome to the Undergang Armchair. My name is Ando. Hello, how is everybody? Thank you for letting me into your head once again. I promise to use my inside voice. The intro is going to be short and sweet today. The guest is Rasmus Mygind, and he's one of those ones who I'd heard a lot about, but I didn't really know much about before arriving at his studio to talk to him. And I must admit, the reason I didn't know much about his work is simply my own intellectual laziness. Now, that may sound like I'm making this about me, but I have a problem, and I think it's a problem which affects the arts a lot. So that's why I'm naming this. And the problem is, if an artwork doesn't immediately have some sort of thread for me to grab onto or something dangling which grabs my interest, then I tend to move on. And sometimes that's a justified thing to do, but often it's not. If I'd taken the time to ask myself some questions when looking at certain works, then a whole world opens up. So what does that mean? It means Rasmus makes great works. It means that on top of that, he's exploring ideas which I totally respond to. It is work I am inherently interested in reality. It also means if I wasn't taking the extra step of running my gap on this podcast, then I would not have figured this out on my own. This is, I think, one of the big problems with arts is that people don't ask these questions and therefore don't engage. And that's really our own fault. So thanks, Rasmus. You reminded me to look again. And it's something I'm going to be thinking a lot about here over the fall as I meet new people and try to find works and practices which I don't usually engage with. And that's got to be a good thing. So I'll let Rasmus take it from here. Enjoy. Well, the problem is they have their own agenda. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not sure. My agenda here is just to talk some shit about art.
Yeah. That sounds good. You're welcome.
But yeah, you said you were in New York for 6 months. What were you doing there?
I was doing the residency, our residency at ISCP, International.
Okay.
What's it even called?
It's the one I thought was ICP for a long time, but it's
that's
not.
the photo
That's
one.
The photo one.
Yeah, no, it's a different one.
It's the International Center for
International Study and Curatorial Program.
There you go.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people here in Denmark do.
Yeah, the Kunstfonden have like an agreement, a set agreement with the ICP. So I think that there's 1 or 2 Danish artists at any given time doing that residency.
Wow. Was it fun?
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, absolutely. It was nice.
New York did you find that fun. It was useful?
I found that, it was incredible to have almost a studio as big as this one we're in now. In the middle, not in the middle of New York, but in close to, like in Williamsburg, fairly close to the city. A place that
none of us could afford.
No. I mean, even like local, like local artists visiting me, or like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very happy that I didn't have to pay rent directly.
It's kind of crazy. I don't really know what to do about the fact, because like sometimes my wife and I think about moving back to America, and it's just kind of like, where would you go in order, like, there's affordable places. Detroit's affordable.
Philadelphia, I hear. That's where people from, like, younger people from New York go, younger artists, because it's affordable studios, living space. Mm-hmm. Pretty close to New York still.
Right.
But
I lived in Chicago for a while, and that back in the early 2000s was fairly affordable. Uh-huh. I was a student at the time, so nothing was affordable anywhere, but Chicago has kind of traditionally. The only problem is the Midwest just has this howling winter.
Yeah.
It's like Norway cold, you know.
Yeah.
It's really, really intense.
Yeah.
And there isn't even mountains to make it pretty.
Yeah.
Or to go skiing. Or,
No.
You know? So, you know, but that's the thing. Like, San Francisco used to be somewhat affordable. No fucking way. Portland's getting screwed right now. LA is also on the way up. Seattle's been expensive. New York, done. You know, so it's kind of like, all right, well, St. Louis, Detroit, Atlanta should be affordable. But I think you and I kind of met organically, which was nice. At a different event, and I'd heard your name a fair amount out and about.
Just because Rasmus is a common Danish name?
No, specifically is. I think because of Tovis, which you were involved with for a long time, which is an artist-run exhibition platform.
Yeah.
But then I looked at your website.
Yeah, that's a little fucked up, right?
I gotta say, your website is fucking crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
But it, of course, made me go, what the fuck's going on here? This is what's going on.
Yeah.
Which now coming into your studio and seeing your practice, I can see, okay, that starts to make sense. But I don't even know where to begin, really, in a lot of ways. But obviously, you are not concerned with making a normal portfolio style. Here's a body of work.
No, I mean when I need money from it, when I'm making applications, I've become really good at doing that.
Smart.
So I mean, you know,
it's a good.
But I kind of prefer myself to look. Also, having been sort of involved with curating during the Tovis, as you mentioned, or other places. So like looking at a website, an artist website, I tend to prefer the ones that are not like chronologically, you know, just this is what all the things. I like the ones where you're sort of a little unsure what's going on, and you know, you have to dig a little deeper,
a little more interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
God knows everyone's website looks the same, mine included. You know, like everyone, you know, and I just don't have the energy, I guess, to try to make it crazy. But
I mean, it's crazy maybe because lack of energy. I mean, I could be a little bit more strong. Actually, before this airs, maybe I should fix it up a little bit. No,
well,
but
I mean, I think in a way, I mean, I did not find it off-putting. It didn't make me go, oh my God, I can't deal with it.
Right.
It made me go, okay, what happens if I scroll all the way down? What happens if I could do this or that? You know, I did try to explore it a little bit, but you don't find out much more after that.
No.
You know, there isn't, you know, I mean, you can find a CV, which is the important information, I guess, for a lot of people.
And you can the CV expands if you click on the exhibitions.
Right, and you can see exhibitions.
Yeah, that was kind of the idea about it. That you can click on the CV and then it goes to the different shows, the ones that are online. I mean, if you go way back, it's hard to find material, but yeah.
Sure. But I mean, I think it functions fine, and it's nice to have kind of an ability to see the work hanging in the wall or the work installed. And your work is also very 3-dimensional, so it is. You know, I get more of a sense of it when I see it inside of a space.
Yeah.
But I don't know why everyone has to have the same website. And I'm not saying anything that it should be that way. It was more just like, wow, you know, what, you know, and I think also it kind of relates to my own nature. We were talking earlier about asking, you know, doing interviews and stuff. And for me, I really like to dig into things and I want to understand why.
Yeah.
I'm the kid who points up and says, why is the sky blue?
Yeah, of course.
You know, and people are kind of like, well, it doesn't matter. But for me, and I think that's part of the reason that, this show exists, because I constantly want to ask, why do you do this? Why is this like this? What is this for? What are the thoughts behind it? You know, which is probably good and also a little annoying. You know, like that's just
no. That's
and not everybody is concerned with why.
Yeah,
they just do it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely concerned with why, but I also like I think it's a balance somehow.
You do have an arts education, which is very much a question of why often.
That's true. Yeah. I went to the academy here in Copenhagen from 04 to 10, 2010.
It's a long run.
Yeah.
I can't believe that school is 6 years.
Yeah.
But you get a master's, so. But what brought you to the academy? Kind of like what in the beginning sent you down that path?
You're talking about what kind of kid you were in school. You were like,
I guess. I mean, the thing is, everybody draws as a kid, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So the question for me is more like, what made that switch? You know, like it didn't occur to me until I was maybe about 19 years old that there was such a thing as an arts education.
No, I
had no fucking idea.
No, me too. Thinking maybe in high school or something. I was like, there's a art class or whatever it's called in high school. Oh, in gymnasium.
Yeah, high school.
Actually, I think that's where I understood that. Okay, you can actually go to the academy.
Was that a teacher who?
I don't even remember how that. Yeah, I guess so.
That's usually what it takes is some adult saying, okay, there is a way to actually keep doing this.
Yeah.
Because you're never really told that there's a future. You know, when you go to art classes, it's a thing you do because there's a vague idea that this is good for human beings.
Yeah.
But no one's like, and then you're going to grow up and then you can get a job. You know, like it's not like, oh, you should study history because you're going to go to college one day. No one says you should do art because you're going to go to college one day.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody ever says that.
No. But I mean, would you actually also tell a young person that, like, being irresponsible? I mean, hopefully
if you want a lifelong job of insecurity and never knowing if you're ever going to get any money and, struggle against the current, then go to art school.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, for me, my parents basically said, we think that's a good choice for you.
Mm. No, I mean, my parents have always been very supportive. I mean, I think also actually sometimes when we have dinner and have a bit of wine at home, it's been a few times that my father's been like, yeah, I also wanted to go to the academy.
Wow.
But then my mother, my grandmother said, no, you can't do that. That doesn't
get
make
a real
sense.
job. You're going to fuck up your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of a generational thing. I think my parents also, had they wanted to go to art school, their parents would have said, "You're going to curse this family for generations if you do this."
Yeah.
Whereas for me, they were like, "Yeah, just fucking go for it, whatever you want, man." Which is interesting how fast that changes.
Yeah. I mean, but I guess your parents were are they of the sort of the hippie? Yeah. So my parents are that generation, but they're nowhere near being hippies. But they're just very relaxed.
I guess people just realized at a certain point that having a career, that there were other options in life aside. For example, my grandfather, by the time he was 21, had kids. He owned a house.
Whoa, yeah.
Like there was no time to fuck around, and that's,
you're going to die when you're 60.
Yeah. And so that was, and it was also seen like after you're a teenager, like you just become an adult. That's it.
Yeah.
You are an adult now.
Yeah.
And you got to act like a goddamn adult.
I guess that's the big change, the last century.
Right. Whereas we're barely adults until we're in our 30s.
I mean,
adults now.
I'm just starting to think of, I just had a kid like 2 months ago, and I think it's only now that I'm a grown-up person.
Does that give you a sense of responsibility? It's your first kid, right?
Yeah.
So what happens?
No, yeah, it does. It gives me a sense, or it just, it's just a big fat line under the word adult, or whatever. And yeah. I mean, I don't have to. I guess it's just responsibility, and a little. I don't know.
Is it terrifying?
It's when you're in a certain mood, maybe, but no. I mean, as we were also talking about earlier, living here, it's maybe less terrifying than. I mean, I imagine
that you can get help if you need it.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is very nice, because I guess that is the terrifying thing about having children, especially if you don't have health insurance. What if they get sick? What if there's an accident?
I mean, I couldn't imagine. We were talking about New York earlier. I couldn't imagine living moving, basing myself there permanently, raising a family. I mean, it just wouldn't be practical. It wouldn't
You
actually
need like $1
maybe even
million
be
a
possible.
year to live comfortably with the family.
Yeah, that's not
It's not that much of an exaggeration.
No, I guess not. And it's definitely not where I'm at right now. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm counting those podcast millions, but
yeah.
No, I mean it is. I mean, I think I think it was what's his name there, the director of Apocalypse Now. What the fuck's his name? I'm burning out. Everybody knows Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
He said basically you cannot be an artist until you have children.
Until you have children, right? Okay, that
because you
makes sense
can't
somehow.
like you're fucking around until you have children, and then it becomes serious.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, other friends of mine who had kids earlier, who's been telling me that when you have a kid, you're more focused in the studio because you only have like 5 or 6 hours. Then you have to go back, and then you have to pick up the kid and I'm starting to see a little bit that that's actually true. So I hope that you can turn that into something productive.
Well, it becomes sink or swim at that point, right? Like you can't stay up all night,
right?
Twiddling around.
No,
you have a responsibility elsewhere, which you cannot.
Yeah,
you're a fucking asshole at least if you ignore it.
You're an asshole to the kid maybe a little bit, but also especially to your partner.
Exactly. So at that point, it is a matter of you only do have this amount of time, and if you want to make it work.
And if you're living in this, today in this kind of society, and when an artist isn't such a crazy thing or such an abnormal thing as maybe it was, like I'm sure Picasso was an asshole to his children, or I'm not comparing myself to Picasso, but like most of the big artists that you know about, I'm sure.
According to the book his ex-wife wrote, yes.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because there's a sense of selfishness, I guess, that you have to have being, I think, productive or like successful artist, or even not just to make maybe interesting work. Also to yourself, you have to insist that. But I mean, I guess there's a balance to be found somewhere between.
Yeah. Well, I mean, times are changing. There was a time when you could be, you could have kids and then basically just leave, and your wife was supposed to take care of everything, and you had to provide money, but that was about it.
Yeah.
You didn't have to be present.
That's true.
And that's the changing nature of society for the better, I'd say, in that case.
Yeah, that sounds.
But ego does play a significant role.
Oh yeah.
Because you get shit on so much as an artist.
Yeah.
You have to be able to withstand that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're gonna be told no, essentially every day of your life.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe the only hope you have is that one day people are going to stop saying no to you all the time, and only sometimes.
Maybe saying maybe sometimes.
Yeah, I'll think about it is what you can hope for.
Exactly.
But
well, that's true.
I did want to, so you went to school, you took some art classes, somebody told you can go to art school, and you thought, ooh, that's me.
Yeah, I think that is actually the trajectory. After high school, then I went to this art school in in Denmark. We have these we have these højskoler.
Right, that whole system of non-accredited. It's education for the sake of education, basically.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing when you think about it. And so I went to the one in Aarhus called the Byhøjskole, which was phenomenal. It was really good. I had one really nice teacher called Jan Sander. He's still there.
I think someone else has mentioned him on the show.
I'm sure.
He's tough but good.
Yeah, and so he kind of blew my mind at first, showing me. I mean, I think I didn't. So he's this lovely, big bear guy, like a gay bear who's also a great artist who decided to focus on teaching. He kind of blew my mind a little bit, showing some of the work that he did. and just introducing me to artists that I wouldn't have heard of for a while, unless I was, thrown into.
I think that's the most important thing, is that somebody takes you under the arm and says, "Hey, kid, check this out."
Yeah, exactly.
Because there is a whole world out there that, and for me, it was people like Sol LeWitt and Felix Gonzalez Torres.
Yeah.
Being introduced to work like that, which I doubt your average teenager is exposed to.
Maybe more so now, but but not when we were teenagers. Yeah. No, I don't think there's.
I had no idea.
No,
and no one told me.
No. I mean, no, it's fairly limited, the art teaching in high school or even in ground school.
And then you start thinking like, oh my God, if this is possible, this becomes interesting.
Yeah.
Because I never, the idea of painting to me was never attractive.
No.
For example.
Right.
And I did ceramics for, I don't know, probably 12 years of my life without ever once considering that as a future.
Right.
It was just, a great place to make bongs and, not go to math class, essentially.
Did you keep some of them or
yeah.
Smashed? Okay.
No, I have they're littered throughout all my aunts and uncles and friends' houses.
Are they interested, like sculpturally interesting?
No.
Okay.
Okay. No, they're not. They're technically adept, but it's mostly just on the wheel, throwing pots and vases and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind going back to it in some sense, but I never really thought of myself as a sculptor.
No.
I didn't really
photograph them.
Yeah. That would probably be like, if I ever was to return to it, it would be to mess with 2D versus 3D ideas. Uh-huh. But it was just a craft, and it was just a thing that, for me going to school, like I didn't like history classes, I didn't like English classes.
Yeah.
I didn't like math classes or science classes. I did okay in all of them, but when people started going to college, I was just like, it didn't make sense to me. Why? I visited something like 15 different colleges before realizing there was such a thing as art school, and I just kept walking around being like, what the fuck is this for? Like, I understand that we're learning something, but like, what am I going to do? I'm going to get a job I don't like, and then what?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I went to art school that I saw, this is for learning skills which enrich my life and then go on. So that was, for me, it was like a technical education which had a lot of space for moving around in.
Yeah.
To me, in a lot of sense, it's no different than getting an electrical engineering degree, except for you don't have to just do electrical engineering. You can do anything.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think that's partly also why I was interested in it. I mean, also I was very interested in movies but also like we were talking about, I've been drawing a lot and cartoons and or comic strips and just a lot of difference, and also but just painting and making weird objects, and somehow Art Academy seemed like a way to do a lot, basically to be able to actually have the chance to do all those things. Right,
it's a place where it's okay to keep doing the stuff you wanted to do anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
Was it hard though? Because I find that I'm starting to understand more about the Art Academy here, and it's very theoretical. It's very little studio base. I mean, you get a studio, but it's very little. It's not very hands-on education. It's very open.
Yeah,
you have a lot of free time.
Yeah.
Whereas the school I went to was like, you take a course and it would be 8 to 10 hours a week in the workshops, hands-on work. So, you'd take a sculpture class, you'd meet once a week in the sculpture department and build shit with your hands and then talk about it afterwards.
Right.
And it doesn't seem like the education here is like that at all.
So the hands-on, at least when I was, it might have even changed even more since I left. But yeah, so it's more like courses that you take for shorter amounts of time, and then you can select a few and match them. Right,
you can say I'm interested in photography, for example.
But you can get very hands-on education still. There's a color department just for color. Like the guy who literally wrote the book on Goethe's color scheme, or whatever, Goethe's Faulär. Henrik Boetius is a really good guy. I'm sure he's still in there. So you can get like super hands-on.
But you can also not, right?
Yeah, you can also not, and yeah, that's true.
Because I mean, I was up.
You cannot. You have to take. You have to take some courses. Like you have to do a selection, but you can steer out of painting. And
right.
You could avoid it if you wanted to.
Was it? I mean, did you like going to school there? Did you think it was the right fit for you?
Yeah. No. It was. Yeah. No. I really loved it. Partly because it is so free. I want to say, but like you were saying that. There's a lot of free time in the studio. So in that sense, it is very studio based. Of course, you could actually not use your studio, but you actually get a studio. And so I was definitely using my studio a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say some people must not.
No,
do a
yeah.
great
Some
job
people
there,
just
like,
have a different kind of practice, and they they know that what they do they're actually doing that on the computer, or they're doing
right.
it at a desk instead of, and they don't need to be at the studio. And that's just how art. There's more art practice that are like that nowadays.
I'm thinking more like people, like when I was in my early 20s going to art school, I had a really hard time focusing because I was in my early 20s.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was living in a big city, and I was partying and going out and doing crazy stuff. And so it was actually hard for me to be present sometimes in school. Like I think I would do much better or would have done much better in my late 20s.
Yeah.
In terms of being a little more focused. And I think it depends on, like, so you're the type of person who has a lot of self-motivation. You don't have a problem getting to work.
No.
It sounds like.
No, not really.
See, I do.
Yeah.
I have I'm really good at that beautiful Danish word, overspringshandling.
No, I'm really good at that too, but
doing something, anything but what you're really supposed to be doing.
Yeah. You're right. That's
and I guess that's kind of the curse, the bane of most artists in a lot of ways.
Yeah, but I think in a weird way, and this is just actually, in a weird way, I think that procrastination, overspringshandling, is a driving force also. It has been for me, at least. I think that's...
Well, you have to get angry too.
Yeah.
You'd be like, okay, fucking, now.
But also, I mean, if you're really... I mean, if with the right glasses on, as you say in Denmark, I think even like an art practice can be like a very long kind of procrastination, but in the very most positive sense of the word.
Right. Well, that's a good argument for state support for the arts too.
Yeah.
In actuality, because things take time, as they say, and for certain projects and ideas to gestate, it needs time. You need space to work.
Yeah.
I was talking to Morten Søndergaard, the poet, and he was talking about getting the lifetime. What's it called? The state support, the lifetime.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
I keep wanting to call it Achievement Award, but that's for movies. When you have a state support for the rest of your life, until you die.
Yeah.
He was saying that's great because there's projects which are going to take me 10 to 15 years to finish, and if I had to concern myself with making money, they may never get finished.
Right.
And you still have to. I mean, it should be said that's not, you don't get rich off of that, but it's enough that you like have a little bit of a baseline to work off of. It's like a universal basic income for a few artists,
like we were talking about before. And I guess it also depends on the other income you have.
Yeah. And if you make money elsewhere, you don't get the state support. It's only if this month I didn't make any money, okay, the state has some money for you. If I did a teaching gig for a couple of weeks, they don't.
Yeah.
But that's a good argument for, the arts don't always just happen. It's not always a matter of like, I just need 8 hours and I can finish this shit.
No.
And God knows that's true for me. I've got projects that have been going for years now.
Yeah.
And I'm still not really even sure where it's going.
No. But I mean, it's all part of the Uber project that you're doing, I guess.
The Uber, yes, Uber performance. But let's talk about your work.
Yeah, so you're actually here in my studio. So
I am in your
It would be
studio.
weird not to look at some of the stuff. So right now it's it must maybe look a bit crazy. Like it's a little hectic. So I've had this.
There's a lot of stuff on the walls. I wouldn't say it looks hectic. It looks actually fairly organized in terms of like your working spaces.
Yeah.
But you have, what do you have? You got 30 works on the wall or something like that. And
Probably,
they're colorful and crazy and do you work? I know basically nothing, so let's start at the bottom.
That's perfect.
Do you work mostly with on paper with these look like watercolors? A lot of these.
Yeah, a lot of this is on paper. So these are all from the last. I don't want to say maybe since April or May or something. And there's a lot more here. So they're all basically they're all mostly on paper or prints or more or less. And I basically had this period where I just wanted to allow myself to try and go a little crazy and enjoy myself a lot.
What I see here is a lot of experimentation.
Yeah.
You've got a block of 4 or 5 works that have one idea, and then a block of 4 or 5 works that have another idea, and you're just trying shit out. Yeah.
So that's so exactly. I've for the last few years I've done quite a lot of work, which was more sort of conceptually in its conception, or like whether
execution.
More conceptual also in the way that it's I set out to do it, or so it then became a lot about logistics and having things produced outside of the studio, and it was actually. I mean, I was sort of not one of the persons who needed to be in the studio.
It was hands off.
Yeah, it was hands off in a way. And while a lot of the work that I'm interested in needs that kind of, that's how it gets done. That's how it gets done. But I know I was kind of missing. I was just missing to mess around and to
make stuff.
Actually, the very physical act of painting. I was missing that. So, the very sort of just the enjoyment of, actually enjoying the work you do while you're doing it.
Mixing colors.
And not just
water.
having the 15 minutes of excitement when you get an idea that you think, okay, this is actually a fun idea. And then, the month or the 4 weeks of just getting it, actually making it happen.
Making phone calls, asking around, negotiating prices.
Exactly. Well, you can, of course, you can't get around that, of course, and that's still part of a lot of some of the framing that I'm sort of figuring out here is also a lot of ordering stuff, and going to a factory and getting them to make the right kind of aluminum, styrofoam, print.
Right. It's always a pain in the ass when you really want to be working on something that you just have logistics to take care of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you need to go shopping.
Yeah.
Or you need to do this or that.
Yeah.
But it's part of it.
I mean, we were talking also about Kunstfonden and just grants earlier, and also this thing. So I did a show 2 years ago. I can show you one of the paintings that's from that show, which was at Ringsted Galleriet, which is this very nice exhibition space in Ringsted.
Mm-hmm.
They have a really nice program for the last few years. Anyway, so I did a show there, which was actually about this constant administrative burden, or this administrative work that you're basically doing
all
80-90% of the time in your studio, at home, all the time, right? And so
that's what I'm going to do later today.
Yeah.
I'm going to go apply for things.
Exactly. And you have to do that, which is fair enough. It's nice that it's even a possibility to do that and get something out of it. But I was a little frustrated with that. That was basically the bigger part of my work day. Mostly, it's a lot of days anyway, and so I kind of wanted to use a lot of that work, like the actual work, the PDFs, the InDesign work, and basically just all the PDF that piles up on your computer. All
the material that you produce.
Yeah, basically a material that I'm producing, which also has an aesthetic quality to it, and somehow thoughts that's been put behind it, and just labor basically. So PDFs piling up on my computer screen that I wanted to use poetically, or I wanted to use it in the actual work. So
you want to fuck it up?
Yeah, I wanted to fuck it up a little bit. So though I had all the PDF thrown into these big InDesign files and then printed on this PVC, which is the material that I've been working on for painting for a few years. This very plasticky. So all the old portfolios and PDFs on that, and then cut out selections, cut out and stretched on canvas, and then abstract painting on top of that. So that was kind of a way to use that as to make actual work out of this administrative annoying work, which was
it a success?
I mean,
in your mind, obviously?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. I still liked the show.
What about abstract painting in general? What is that? Is that more of a performance, a personal performance for you? More of a hands-on thing, or is it? Is it part of a greater kind of discussion?
It always is, I guess, part of a greater discussion that you're having, I guess, with yourself, but also with art history or whatever But no, it's just an urge that I've just need to not contain, or that I need to allow to get out, and I'm interested in and for this project that I'm working on now, which is for a show in Brussels in a month's time.
That is soon.
Yeah, month and a half. Yeah, I know, but no, it's going well. So for that show, I'm interested in the juxtaposition between the abstract and small images. So there's you can see a few.
I see some printouts here.
Yeah, so they're images that are kind of footnotes on the actual. But which are part of the framing, which are in the frame in a way, and then they all get these, these. You worked at the framer, so these styrofoam corners, I guess, pretty well.
Yeah, just the protective corners.
Yeah, exactly. So I've just had them. I've sent them to this factory where they make them in aluminum. So they're going to be, they're going to be basically just painted white again. So it's going to be aluminum corners. So it's this
which references the packaging of the frames under transport,
which is this thing that I visited before in some other previous works. This element, or these things that you take for granted when actually dealing or handling art. I'm also worked for galleries and art fairs and stuff, so I packed a lot of paintings and shipped a lot of stuff, and
there's a whole science to that.
And there's just all this stuff around it that also, it also has aesthetic value, but it's also just, for the most part for most of the time, unless it's work that's hanging in a museum all the time, that's actually, I don't want to say part of the work, but that's actually attached to the work.
Right. It's a significant part of that work's life.
Yeah. They live together, right? So somehow I was interested in using that so actually taking that and using it as part of the composition, and making it a permanent part of the work. For the lulz, for giggles, but also because so these frames, they actually have a purpose. They're actually holding the glass onto the board. So there's no other.
So if you pull those corners off, the glass will fall out.
They have screws on the back, but yeah, basically. So
is it a fuck you to the art world?
No, I think it's the opposite, actually. Huh. Right? It's like a.
You mentioned it was for fun earlier. It was for laughs.
Well,
In a way, it seems to take some of the seriousness out of it. You could say.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And it does, in a sense. I like it. I like works that can be. In general, I like works that are that can somehow find the balance between being serious and being, just making, or being, basically being serious and being not slapstick, but like fun at the same time.
Making fun of the nature of it.
Or just it's making fun of itself, or it knows that it's, it's kind of like a framing that knows what it is. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure
object.
I'm making sense here, but yeah,
No, I follow you because
yeah.
it does, I guess the fact, when you put it that way, it makes it seem like artwork that's hanging on the walls of the so-called white cube often is a lie about the reality of the life of that work. It doesn't live like that most of the time.
Yeah.
It's packaged,
I guess so.
handled carefully. It's not the reality of that work. The reality of that work is a longer journey and process which led to this moment.
Yeah.
And the moment is short.
Yeah.
Unless, considering how little work that is produced ends up hanging on the wall,
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's definitely part of it, Yeah.
Are you insecure about being an artist sometimes?
Sure. Yeah. Sure. But I'm not about being an artist.
I don't mean about making. I don't mean about the art itself.
No.
I mean about the role of an artist, or the absurdity of being a culture producer in modern society.
I'm definitely very aware of but that's also very much what do you say?
Either or.
Yeah, it's either or, because it's in some way, of course, it makes zero sense to spend your life doing something like this.
We've always done it.
It's but when you think, but then on the other hand, of course, it's also, most days I think it's what makes the most sense to do. So that's
Well, the thing is, we're not witch doctors anymore. Right. Just like you said earlier, we have to spend a lot of time just administrating the practice. That is something which makes it really hard for certain types of people to have the time to be artists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because artists, Jesper Rasmussen said something very good, which was that most people work to make money. Mm-hmm. Artists make money to work.
Yeah.
And in order to make money to work, we have to apply for money. We have to administrate a lot of it. And that makes it, for people who are very bad at administrating, maybe they're talented artists, very good producers, it makes it more or less impossible. Unless they're so talented that a gallery comes in and says, you there, you just keep painting, we're going to come once a month, pick shit up and sell it for you.
Yeah.
Which basically never happens anymore, right? Unless that situation happens, if you can't administrate it, you're basically fucked.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of bitter, non-professional artists come from, because they feel left out of the system.
Yeah.
Because, they want to be witch doctors when in fact they need a secretary.
Yeah.
And that to me is absurd.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, even though, on the other hand, it says, well, only the people who are tough enough float to the top. Mm. And there's an argument to be made for that, too.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think what I was getting to there was just that idea that being an artist is absurd.
Yeah. Of course.
And you seem to be particularly aware of that.
No, but I was like, it's absurd. It's definitely absurd. But I don't have to realize, I don't look at myself in the mirror and say, what are you spending your life on? And I think I would if I was, sitting in an office working for something that I didn't care about.
Right.
So, yeah. So,
absolutely.
that's a big cliche, but they exist for a reason.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is too that it's okay to be insecure. Maybe you should question.
Okay, I think you should question everything more or less all the time. So in that sense, yeah, definitely. And no, of course, I'm very. It fluctuates. Sometimes I think I'm the the most brilliant artist ever, and I can't believe how lucky I am. But other times, you're like, yeah, well,
what the fuck?
It's okay, I guess. What you're doing, but that's just how it is. I think. I think talking about Picasso again. He woke up every morning, reportedly, and basically thought that his work is shit. And
right, he was despondent. He had to be coaxed into getting to work again.
So he needed one of the muses to tell him that it's amazing, and his dealers or whatever.
Yeah. and then up and on it again.
Yeah, so that's nice to think about.
What about the notion of hard work? I mean, we were talking a little bit earlier about having a kid and how that limits time, but I can only assume you're here a lot and work a lot.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Do you see that as an integral part of what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So this whole thing about, thinking with your hands, or like hands on, is definitely, it's definitely important for me. I mean, I think that just looking around here, there's definitely a few of the series here that are not stuff that I, came to make in my head, but they're more stuff that came, moving stuff around in the studio and like seeing them next to each other, and so there's a lot of ideas or a lot of moves that comes from touching stuff and
just continually working on it.
Yeah. It's kind of it's a little bit. I had a pause with that, so it's like a new thing that's come back into my practice in the last, the last 6 months or so. So this is So all that you see here is basically from the last 6 months, and so that's it's nice. It needs to sort of find a place to. I need to figure out. I'm getting there, but I need to figure out how to sort of direct it.
How to land this flight.
Yeah.
How to land the plane.
But I think it's more or less coming together.
Right. I mean, that's the problem, I guess, is that at a certain point you have to start, reeling it in again.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I really appreciate how much experimentation you get done. And it's something I really wish for more of in my own practice.
Right.
I haven't been able to put the time aside, essentially, for it.
But isn't it, I guess it would be different being, I mean, of course you can do that, making photographs, but if you're very specifically a photographer, I mean, it has a certain routine that you need.
It does, and you have to get out of it, in fact, because photography is, kind of constantly in crisis in the fact that it's a media which is so ubiquitous.
Yeah.
And, you're fighting a lot of kind of preconceived notions about the material.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I have a darkroom.
Yeah.
So that's more hands-on. That's more kind of trying things out.
Yeah.
But I find that making work involves having to make physical copies of the work, put them on the wall. I need a space. I can't work on the computer because I can't imagine real life enough.
No.
I have to make real life and then see how it interplays. Just like you said, putting works next to each other, seeing what that sort of hands-on thing needs to happen, at least for me. And then again, it becomes hard to edit and to, where is this going? You can have lots of ideas and try a lot of things and mess around a lot, but then pulling it together.
Yeah.
I mean, how let's just take a look here. We have 30 works on the walls. It's a lot of different experimentation, a lot of abstract watercolors, a lot of, looks like a lot of pen and, a lot of crazy stuff going on here. How are you going to pull this together when it's time to do so in, a couple of weeks?
Yeah. So like you can see the frames that are being finished here. And so there's going to be, I think there's going to be 2 separate series. In the show, and it's going to be a fairly small show, like 10 works, and it's so the plan is at least that 3 of this series here, which is these oversized. So for the people listening, it's basically one of these skifterammer shifting frames.
It's a
super cheap frame.
What the fuck are they called? It's one of the ones you can take work in and out of. It's a factory made frame that you can.
Yeah, I don't know what's it called in English.
I don't remember right now.
But basically some of the cheapest frames
ones you get from any old.
So it's just glass on top of a plate, and then these small aluminum clicks on the sides.
Little clips that you keep the glass down.
And so basically, as you can see, some of them are up there, and that's kind of like where I came from. So I just wanted to. I started out making a lot of those, and were like, they're nice, but they're kind of. So I wanted to scale them up and basically make them myself. And
is that what those clips are here on this painting?
So this painting here, Yeah, so basically the clips are basically just scaled up into a ridiculous size. So they're interfering with the painting basically. So they're becoming very obviously very big part of the composition. But then they're on top of the glass, and so the painting underneath is kind of it's not. There's no paint under the clips, so it's kind of dictating part of the composition or part of the. Yeah, so there's going to be a few of those, and then there's going to be some of the these very free and weird small paintings on A3 paper. As you can see, there's a bunch of them there, and they're basically going into this small frame that has a little extra space for kind of like a footnote, but which are these small prints of have a few ones, which is these weird pictures of aliens.
We'll try to put some. With your permission, we'll try to put some of this on the website so listeners can see it. Because it's hard for me to describe, but I'm starting to get an idea here, and I'm starting to see how it hangs together. Mm-hmm. Especially if you take the clip work, the work with the photo in the corner, and those ones up there. That starts. I start to see something happening.
Yeah. So the one next to the one in the middle there that's basically like a prototype that's almost finished, but it just needs a better print of basically. Yeah.
How important are materials to you?
Fairly, quite important actually. A lot of the work I did in the past were, kind of fetishizing material, but I'm
talking about the material discussion. How materials dictate conversation about.
Oh, I thought you were actually
artwork.
Talking about literally the material, the surfaces.
I am.
Okay.
But I mean, in terms of what that means when you use, because you're talking about the corners that they put on frames, for example, and how the frame itself becomes part of the artwork and stuff. So it's not just materials as in this is a nice material, but materials as in what does this mean? What does this talk about? What is this a part of?
Yeah. So definitely the material of working on paper, that's definitely that's just a way to be as free as possible, obviously, because you just at least for me, you just work different when you're working on paper than when you're working on a stretch canvas that you spend an hour and a half stretching up really nice, and then you're like, okay, unless you have a plan for what you're going to paint, which I sometimes have, sometimes don't have. So that's definitely that means that it means that it's a lot freer. And in terms of the framing, it's something that I've been interested in for a while. So I did some work before that had the protection tape. Also, when
the glass tape that you put on them when you ship them, or what?
Yeah, exactly. So I just also made a bunch of work of that, which some of them were also small watercolors. But then the protection tape was on the back side of the glass, so it's inside the frame. Mm-hmm. So it was very kind of the same with the corners here. So it's a part of the composition and a part of the work, and it's just insisting that these things, that cheap stuff that it's not even very cheap actually, but these stuff that we throw away, that has to do with art handling, that just insisting that they have a role,
right? And that they aren't hidden.
No, yeah, exactly, yeah.
I think it's actually going to be a great show now that you're explaining
I think so
it to
too.
me.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, we'll see. I am still a little bit on the fence about how much autobiographical or how much biographical work. I have a plan to put some photos from my own iPhoto, from my own pile of photos, some old photos and.
Why?
Because exactly why. But just because it's it's work in a sense that I have like a huge catalog of like thousands of pictures.
Production.
Yeah, basically that you know, I could be interested in sort of inviting into my practice somehow.
Would you say that production or like the process of making things is one of the more important elements of your work? You know, because you seem to, again, referencing the materials and the production of the materials and stuff.
Yeah, I would say so, yeah. I mean, the short answer is yes.
To make it slightly longer, why? What is it about that interests you?
Yeah, well, I think actually, on a very basic level, it's probably just because, like I was telling you, I've done a lot of technical work in for galleries,
right? Hanging works.
So basically, it's just dealing with these things. But then it's also, I guess, it's a little bit like also inviting the inviting the audience into the actual art world, which is not, you know, sort of like muddying the waters a little bit. Like,
goes back to the idea of making a little bit of fun of it, or at least making it a little less serious.
Yeah,
while
I don't know.
It.
Yeah, I kind of want to. So I think fun is like super serious. Like it's the thing that should be taken the most serious. So, you know, but I know what you mean. Yeah. Right. And so well, it's like building something up to a certain height and then just pulling it back down a little bit. Yeah. You know, just to say, hey, I realize that it's here, but we can also look at it here. Yeah. And that's sort of, it's kind of dual when you make semi-expensive aluminum corners out of the styrofoam instead of the styrofoam ones, and keep them on, and but also like the reference, the very very basic reference to like like trompe l'oeil and like just the I'm not doing anything. It's not like I'm doing something super new. Like there's very old paintings that, you know, painted the backside of the, right. I forgot his name. The Dutch guy, I think. Actually, the Statens Museum have have a work. I forgot. Yeah, we can
internet that.
But yeah, sure.
And you know, the artists have forever been struggling with the frames, the metaphysical frames that contain the works, and trying to push it out. And that's good, right? Because we do want to break down whatever sort of boundaries may have been put up by history or by other people, etc.
So, I mean, I guess I'm also struggling actually a little bit with the idea of even like framing work, because like, why? There's no.
What does that mean? Right.
Why should we even do that? So I guess I'm also, you know, for some reason, very interested in just dealing with that discussion.
Well, I think it's very relevant, and I think it works too, because a lot of these drawings on their own are so freeform and so out of context. They're so personal to you and a process, and you know, that having some sort of other dimension of meaning kind of gives them a frame to exist in. You know what I mean? Like it does create extra layers of meaning. And one of the most important things I ever learned about art is that some of the most successful work vibrates on several layers, on several dimensions. Sure, you know, sure. It's very hard to make unidimensional work that is powerful enough to demand attention.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And it has to touch you in different places for it truly to kind of cross over whatever threshold there might be.
I think I agree, and I mean, definitely, I'm aware of the danger of doing it, making too sort of pseudo a painting or drawing, like that it's just pretending to be, because, you know, I need it to put it in the frame. That's the actual work, but that's not how it's. So I'm really interested in the duality or whatever of it, like the making it one thing.
Right.
And but that's kind of challenging in a weird sort of stupid way. But
absolutely, making it two things at once.
But I'm insisting definitely on that the painting should be able to also work on themselves. So yeah, it's definitely a lot. All of the ones that you're looking at right now that are going anywhere. Just
well, I think one of the first things I think is outsider art or something like that. It looks like a completely different discussion than one half of the discussion you're making it about. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and so that I find very interesting. It's not off-putting at all.
Right.
But that's where the curation and the editing of a series becomes enormously important. Because I bet you could make 100 of these drawings and hang them all on the wall. And if you just did that, I would say, yeah, fuck this art show. But since you are making it half about that and half about a completely different discussion, it totally blows up the box that it would otherwise be put in.
Yeah.
And that goes back to, again, me wanting to always put things in boxes. That's just the way I am. And so therefore it's good that you're saying, no, look at this box. Look at the way this box is packaged. Well, what does this box mean?
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera.
I mean, yeah. So yeah, I'm interested in definitely, like, yeah, as you say, but also like something, the very aesthetic part of it. And also, I mean, I think that the frames, like I think that the corners have an aesthetic value as well. So it's not like it's just the idea of it or whatever. No. I mean,
well, it goes back to, the birth of contemporary art, the ready-made. In a weird way, it is a ready-made, God forbid we talk too much about that. But you know what I mean? It does. Yeah. There's a lot. Basically, I guess, in short, there's a lot to reference to when you do this. And that helps, on multi-layers. Yeah, you can't escape the ready-made. And this is actually maybe the least ready-made work I've ever done. So I, did a lot of that in the past, and of course, you're right. that's impossible to escape. Are you having a good time?
Sure.
In general?
Sure. In general?
Yeah,
in general, yeah.
With making work with
sure. Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's good.
Are you?
I'm starting to.
Okay, good.
I mean, it goes back a little bit, not to derail this too much, but it goes back to the administration of things.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find space. You just had a child. You're going to have to reevaluate the way that you find space to make work.
Yeah, totally.
I guess to wrap it up, my final question would be, what's the most important tool for you as an artist? And this could also apply to artists in general, outside of the actual practice. You know what I mean? Like, what is it that helps you when you're not here?
I mean, for me, especially when I'm not here, I guess it helps me to not be here, that I want to be, that I want to come here, I guess, that I want to be in the studio. So the desire to be here.
Do you know where that desire comes from?
No, I mean, honestly, just like an urge to create something, I guess.
I mean, it's okay to love your job. You know what I mean? Having that. I feel the same way whenever I'm at, I very recently finally have my own space. Whenever I'm there, I feel good.
Yeah.
Just like, okay, this is the center for the place where I make stuff.
Yeah.
And making stuff feels good. And that's why I do this.
Yeah. No, I mean, you don't need any more explanation than that, but.
Yeah. It's all about the practice.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we've gone over an hour.
Oops.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Undergang Armchair. The intro and outro music is kindly provided by Johnny Ripper, and today's interstitial music by Saberlike. You can find links to their music and tons of other conversations with great people on our art logistics company of a website, undergang.net. If you like this show, we would appreciate it if you'd take the time to leave a review on iTunes so others can find us. This show is produced in part with the kind support of the Danish Arts Council. Thanks so much for joining us.